Hi, this is Kate from Izzalicious Designs. Today I thought I'd show you how to make my tiny tot snowman with his detachable hat. So that's what we're going to do today, and we're going to do four colours: red, orange, black and white. Okay, I am going to use a stitch marker. I'm using the lockable kind. I'm having a good time with those at the moment, but you can also use the little ones that don't lock, these ones. If you don't have the stitch markers, you can use something like an S clip or a C clip or a safety clip, safety pin, bobby pin, all that sort of stuff. I'm going to use two of the larger size safety eyes. That's just me, my preference today for him, and they are about, well, I suppose about a centimetre. 10 millimeters, 9, yeah, I suppose 10 millimeters, about 10 millimeters. If you've got a 9 millimeter, that would work too. Usually I use the 6, but these are slightly larger than that. I'm going to make a little nose, and in order to help me do the nose, I'm going to see, or I'm going to ask you if you can maybe find either a skewer, a toothpick, or if you've got a very, very fine hook with something like that, that you can push down the center of the magic ring, and that sort of helps us as we build our nose, because we're only doing a magic ring of 3, as you can see. And if you just have this down the center, it just helps you actually make it. And as I said, you can do that with a toothpick or a skewer, anything that's fine enough to go down this little hole without stretching it too badly. We're going to start by doing his head, and we're just going to do white at this stage, and we're going to do a magic ring of 6. So get 6 bands ready, and then have one that you're actually going to put those 6 bands in. Now you can do a magic ring using your loom, or if you're proficient enough, you can use your hook. Completely up to you. Wrap your band around once and twice, and then you slide the first of your 6 bands through like that, and reclaim. Pinch the little end cap that you have here and one over the other. Then you go back through the end cap, okay, and pinching it, pull the second one through and join. Back through again. And if you need a little bit of help, you can always put, let me show you how we can do this. You can always put your stitch marker down through where those 3 bands are that you need to pull out, and that sort of acts as a little handle. You can pull it back and it keeps those 3 bands open so that you can very quickly and easily go through them. And take that out. I'm on my last stitch. Go through my little circle here, and there we go. There's my magic ring with 6. Our next round is going to be 2 in each stitch, so you'll need 12 bands. Okay, you're going to do an increase, so go through your first stitch with your first band, do a single crochet and pop your stitch marker on. That is your first stitch. Go in through that same first stitch and do your second. Through the third stitch, you're going to do 2 in here. 1 and 2. And the third stitch. 1 and 2. 1 and 2. 1 and 2, and our last stitch, 1 and 2. So we now have 12 stitches around here. Next we're going to do a single crochet followed by an increase. So if you wanted to lay your bands out, this is how you would do it, okay? And I don't typically do this, I just grab them from my container, but some people like to have it all organised, and that's fine. I guess then at least you know. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. I'm going to start here, single crochet in my first stitch and move my stitch marker. In the next stitch you're doing 2. 1 and 2 and a single and 2. 1 2. 1 and 2. You now have 18 stitches. Make sure you go through both loops and you finish on an increase like so. Okay, so our next round, we've got 18 here, so we're going to have 18 stitches, but we're going to have a bit more because we're going to do a single crochet, followed by 2, and then a single, and 2, single and single and 2. So it's 2 single crochets followed by an increase, and you're going to do this for 18. Let's see how many you got. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and you finish on an increase. So let's go our first stitch, and then we have another single and an increase. By the time you finish this round, you will have 24 stitches. And making these balls is typically how we make the different shapes that we have for Loomigurumi, or how they do it for Amigurumi, but also we've adapted and do it for Loomigurumi too. So you start with a little ball, a little magic ring, and you get it bigger, and then you do a few rounds to give it the body in the middle, you know, the shape in the middle, and then you decrease the same amount that you have increased. So if you go up to 3 single crochets and an increase, when you start your decreasing, you'll start at 3 single crochets and a decrease. So, and that's just for a ball. If you're making different shapes, then it's a little bit different. So we now have 24 stitches. Now we're going to do 8 rounds of single crochet. Okay, so you'll count up. What I like to do is I have a little pile here, which I have my 8 bands, and each one of these bands signifies a round. And as I start my first round, I go through and I use my first one from here, and I move my stitch marker, and then I take from my big pile of bands, which is here, to do the stitching around my work. So I don't take from this little pile, which now shows that I have 7 bands, which to me indicates that I have 7 more rounds to do. So we just go around just doing single crochet all the way around like this. Now you're going to pause the video and you're going to do your 8 rounds by yourself, and when you get back, because you finished yours, you will end up with something like this. This is what I prepared earlier. So what we're going to do now, when you have got to this stage, now I can see this is my last stitch here, and that's my beginning one here. Now what we have to do is our decreases. Now we went up to 2 single crochets and an increase, didn't we? So now what we have to do is 2 single crochets followed by a decrease. So let's do our first one. First single crochet and move our stitch marker. Second single crochet, and now we're going to do a decrease. Now to do the decrease, usually for decreases you go through the first stitch and then you add the second stitch onto it and pull your band through, but that gives quite a big bulky decrease because you've got 4 loops that you're going through. So to do what's called a hidden decrease, you're going to go through the back of the first loop and through the back of the second loop, so you're only dealing with 2 loops instead of 4. Pull your band through and do a single crochet like normal, and then let's do 2 single crochets, 1, 2, and another decrease, the hidden decrease, just through those 2 back loops. And again we're going to go round until we get back to our stitch marker, doing 2 single crochets followed by a hidden decrease. And we finish on our decrease. So then into our first stitch we do a single crochet. If I can get this band off, there we go. Single crochet, move your stitch marker, and now we do single crochet followed by a decrease. So that was our single crochet. I'm going to do my hidden decrease. Single crochet, hidden decrease. So this time we're not doing 2 single crochets, we're doing just a single crochet. Single crochet, decrease, single crochet, decrease, single crochet, decrease, single crochet, and we're going to finish on a decrease. Okay, so there we go. This is our first stitch here. Now I'm going to zoom in because the neck gets a little bit funky and I think you need to see it close up. So next step, the neck. Sorry, had to pause there, quick coughing fit. For the neck we're going to do what's called working in the post, and we're going to work in the back post. Now in Loomigurumi we do things back to front from Amigurumi. Amigurumi, they actually would be working from this side as opposed to the back side, and this would be turned inside out, and that's how they work. So if you're doing this in yarn, you'd be wanting to work on the inside post. If you're doing this in bands, we work on the outside post. We're going to go, this is the stitch that we've just worked in, okay? So we're going to go back into that stitch. So see, this is the stitch that we just worked in here, okay? We're going to go back into that stitch backwards. So from the front, here we are, we're going from the back toward the front, and then go in through that first stitch this way, so that you have this little bit here. Pull a band through and single crochet. I think I'm a bit too close. Let's zoom out just a little bit so you can still see, but without being in my face. I'm going to move my stitch marker to that band. Again, go through the stitch that we just worked in. So you go through from the back to the front, and then pop out this one here. And this is how we sort of try and reinforce the neck a bit. Again, from the back to the front, and pop out. And once you get the hang of it, it's quite easy. I do have a tutorial on my tips and tricks on how to work in the front and the back post. So if you're finding this bit a bit tricky, go and have a quick squiz there, and it might become a little clearer. And you're just going through each stitch with one single crochet, and this is going to be my last stitch. Okay, I've worked in this stitch here. Now I'm going into my first stitch where my stitch marker is, and I'm going to do a single crochet just through the stitch like normal. So both loops, pull through, single crochet, and I'm going to move my stitch marker to it. Now this round is going to be single crochet followed by an increase. So my next stitch is going to be my increase. 1 and 2, and then a single, and then an increase. 1 and 2, and a single, and an increase. Single and an increase. Single and an increase. Single, and we finish on an increase. So let's count our stitches. I'm just going to stretch this out a little bit so you can see clearly. It's a bit tricky with white. So our first one is where our stitch marker is. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, let me get my little thing here. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 and 18. So by the end of the neck you have 18 stitches. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to do a single crochet followed by an increase. So first stitch, make sure I don't go through my stitch marker. I'm going to move my stitch marker to that one, that's my first stitch. and then I'm going to do a second. Oops, come on, there we go. And now I'm going to do an increase. 1 and 2. 1, 2, and an increase. Oops. 1, 2, and an increase. 1, 2, and an increase. 1, 2, and increase. 1, 2, and increase. So the next stitch is my first stitch. Okay, now I'm going to put a locking, I'm going to use a locking little stitch marker for here. I'll take it off this one that I was using before. I'm going to go through my first stitch with a single crochet and put my locking one on here. Now it's a really good time at this point to put your nose on, because otherwise you've got too far to go up to try and get the nose in the right position. So one of the things I'm going to do is take the hat off and look at my little snowman's face here of the one that I've completed. Okay, let's make sure I'm zoomed out so you can see as much. There we go. So this is the back, this is the front. I need to position my eyes. As I said, I'm using slightly different eyes. I want them to be about here. Okay, now, I tend to put the backing on prior to pushing them inside. I don't push them through this way, I go up through the back this way. Now I'm going to put where I want my eyes. I'm going to use a little sort of band for each of them. So this is the back of my face, and let's have a look. I'm going to squidge this down and I'm going to come down. Let's count. There's my magic ring. There's my is that my magic ring? There's my magic ring. There's my magic ring. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, probably maybe 5. Let's see how we compare. There's the magic ring. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, I've kind of gone on 6. So if I put my hook, gosh, completely confounded there. I'm going to go through here and here. Alright, so I'm going to put one eye here, I think. I'm just going to put a marker band just so that I can see if that's about right. And then on the other side, I'm going to go about here. And again, marker band just so that I can see if that's the position that I want. So I'm back to my ye old faithful with these kind of marking backings here. I'm going to pop one here. The other one's going to go about here. I have not put the backs on, so bear with me while I sort this out. A little bit smaller than the other ones, but I think I'd rather have smaller eyes that fit nicer than nasty eyes that do not. Maybe a little bit far apart, but we can fix that and take the backing of them and pop those on. I only do it till I hear the single click. Once I hear it click once, I know that we're safe. There we go. But you can still move them around if you need to. Now the next thing to put here, I'll move my little marker bands is a nose. You want to have a nose that goes about here, and as you can see it's quite a skinny thin nose. It does spiral, but that's perfectly fine. This is how we're going to do it, and as you can see it has the 3 little anchor bands that we're going to attach an anchor to the front of the face like that and pull them back and tie them off. Now these are tricky because you're only going to be using a magic ring with 3. So have 3 bands and your little ring. We're going to do 3 and 3 and 3. So you've got 3, 6, 9, 12 and 1 for 13. So taking your first band, wrap it once and twice, and then we're going to do our first band, pinch those 3 little loops and go back in for your second band and back in for your third band. Oops, flick it wherever you want. There we go. Now that's the little hole that we have in there. What I have done is I have a very skinny hook and I push that through so that I can keep this and work up. If you don't have a skinny hook, as I mentioned before, use a toothpick and pop that through. Make sure you don't poke yourself, but a toothpick works just as well. Okay, or a skewer. If you have a kebab skewer or something like that, that works too. Now you can see here, this is our 3rd stitch, our 2nd stitch and our 1st stitch. I'm going to zoom in, just hopefully so you can see me a little clearer. Oh, I say I'm zooming in. There we go. Let's see if this will help us. So if you have a look, your 1st stitch here, your 2nd stitch and your 3rd stitch is on your hook. You're going to move this stitch that is on your hook and you're going to use your hook to come around and go through your 1st stitch. Now your 1st stitch is not this, your 1st stitch is this, okay? And then your first pile of bands, you'll do your first single crochet. Might be tricky, bear with it. Here's your 2nd band here, so your 2nd stitch is just here. Go through that. Make sure your toothpick doesn't fall. Pull through and do your crochet. And the 3rd stitch is round here. So this is your 1st, that's your 2nd, so your 3rd is this one here. Alright, that you can see on your toothpick. There you go. Grab that one, pull it through. So again, this is your 1st one back here. And you don't really need to use a stitch marker because you can see, plus you've done your little piles of them here. This is your 1st one. Pull it round. This is your 2nd. Make sure you just get the 2 loops. 2nd, and then again twist it round. This is your 3rd, and I appreciate this is tricky. This is your 3rd. Now depending how big you want your nose to be, you could go around again. I did. This is going to be my 1st over here. So I'm going to twist my hook around and go through my 1st. And then this is my 2nd right here. And this will be my 3rd right next to it. Now you're going to need 3 white bands because going through your 1st again, which is here, these 2 little loops here, take a white band, pull it through and add that orange loop to it, so it's a slip stitch, and do one over the other. Go to your next stitch here, pull through, one over the other, and keep it like that, and then your 3rd stitch, here you go, one over the other, and pull your toothpick out, and that is how we did the little nose. Now you might want to make this come around a bit so that it's like a little, well, not a triangle, but so that it's evenly spaced. Now these are going to be our marker bands that we're going to pull through his face, so gently take that out. You don't want those to become unraveled. And what you're going to do, take your face here, push your hook through from the back, and you're going to work out where you want the first anchor band to go and pull it through, and then one on the side and pull it through, keeping that first one on your hook, so you're ending up with all three on your hook. Okay, hope you can see, and pull it through. I'll do it again just in case I'm too zoomed in for you. Let's try again. So I'm going to go between the eyes right here for my first one, push through and pull one of them through, doesn't matter which. Then I'm going to go to the side of the eye here and pull through, and I want to keep it on my hook. And if you want, you can go under the eye, it really doesn't matter. You could go over here, but I think that might be a bit stretched. It's up to you to work out. So keep it on your hook and then go to the other side so that you're a mirror image. So maybe I will go here and pull through. Let's see how this looks. I've got all three, or one over the other already. I've got all three of them here. I'm going to just put my toothpick through just to hold them for a second so that I can see how I like that positioning. And I think that will do. I think that will do all right. I could spread the nose out a little further, but I think it's all right like that. So what I'm going to do, put my hook back in, take my toothpick out. What I need to do is hold one, do one over the other, put it back on, one over the other, and then I'm going to go and find that first one again, and I'm going to tie a slip knot. So I'm effectively just tying those three bands together. Like that. Don't do it too tight, just in case you do want to move things around. You might think, well, it's a bit loose. It might be a bit loose, which means you might want to spread it. But for me, I think that's about right. I'm going to zoom back out again. I wasn't that far. So for his mouth, we're going to take some bands, some black ones, and wrap 1, 2, 3, push down. Take another one. 1, 2, 3, push down. 1, 2, 3, push down. 1, 2, 3, push down. I'm going to do 5 just to be on the safe side. 1, 2, 3, and push down. Okay, so we've got 5 bands wrapped 3 times. I'm going to start under the eye here, and you do it wherever you want. I mean, it's completely up to you. Take a white band and pull it through this little gap here. And what you're going to do, you're going to take the first wrap band and slide it onto that side of your band and reclaim. Okay, nothing else. Now you're going to find out where you want the second band to be placed. And I'm going to go here and here. And again, I'm going to take a white band and I'm going to pull it through the stitch, but I'm also going to pull it through the white band that we just used, like that. And then I'm going to slide my second wrapped band onto that and reclaim. There's my second one. I'm going in to find my third one. I'm going to go here. Again, I'm going to take my white band, pull it through the 2 white loops that I have on my hook, and take my third black band, pull it on, and reclaim. Okay, I'm going to go here for my next one. Pull through the 2 loops that are on my hook, and use my 4th wrapped band, put it on, and reclaim. And then my 5th one will be from here to here. Again, pull through, and the 2 white bands that were on my hook, slide this on and reclaim one over the other, and then you're going to pinch this with your fingers and go inside. Okay, go through the hole that this comes out of, pull it through onto the inside, and you're going to need to find a band on the inside that's not too far away from that, but not the exact one. So like maybe just here, I have 2 little loops here. I'm going to go through one and the other, and I'm going to tie this together to my loop with a tie-off band, like so. And again, if you don't want to make it too tight, don't make it too tight, because then you can change how you do your little smile. But that's how I'm doing my little smile. If you want to tighten the nose up, you can. That's completely up to you. You can also use the tie bands as orange. I think with this one I actually used orange. Now the downside of using orange is that you get to see where you tie it at the back if you're not careful. The good side about using orange is you don't see the anchor bands like this. So it's completely up to you how you do that. Anyway, that's his head. Now we've got to go back to his body. We did our two single crochets followed by an increase. We now have to do 3 rounds, 1, 2 and 3, of single crochet only. So I will catch you back. We're going through here, just doing single crochets. So through the first, we did a first stitch already. Let's take our band, and we know that we've got a whole round of single crochet to do, and then we have 2 more rounds after that of single crochet just with white bands. I'll catch you back when you're there at that stage too. So I've done my 3 rounds of single crochet, and now we are going to think about building up the body. There's a couple of different things you can do. You can add your buttons and make them bands like this after the fact, so you can make your body and then put the little bands on. I actually really like this way. The other way you can do it is to make your body, and as you go, thread on a bead like this and do that as the buttons down the front, if that's what you choose. Again, completely up to you. I think personally I prefer this way, and it's nice and easy because you don't have to think about which round you're going to put it on. You can do it after the fact and line them up nicely. That's just my personal preference. So let's get going. We're going to do a round now of single crochet, increase. So I've put my little band here, single crochet, increase, and then we're going to do after that 6 rounds of plain single crochet. So I'm going to do a couple with you, but then you're going to do them. So that's my first one, and here's my second, and then an increase. So 1 and back through that same stitch, 2 and single crochet, single crochet and increase. So 1 and 2, 1, 2. Now if you were doing buttons, it would be about here, and you're just going to line it up through line of sight really, here or here, that you would do your first one. Okay, but as I said, I'm just going to do mine as bands, but bear in mind if you did want to do it with not buttons, I'm sorry, beads, that about here on your second one would be where you would add that button, bead, goodness me. And the other thing that you might want to do is after you finish this particular round, which is the 2 single crochets followed by an increase, before you get carried away and do your 6 rounds of single crochet, which takes you down to the bottom of your creation, you might like to add the arms. Just a little easier to add them when you don't have so much creation to go through. You can see a little easier. This is very reminiscent of one of the first Loomigurumi projects I did, which was my little melted snowman that you could convert. It's either a snowman or a ghost, and I do think I prefer this version, but as a beginner it was quite fun to make that one. So finish on an increase. There we go. Now I'm going to do my first stitch. I'm going to take it from this little pack. I've got a little six bands just here. I'm going to take one from here. So I know that's my first round. I'm going to move my stitch marker. Now I'm going to do my arms. Now I've done one arm. I'm going to do one with you. This is my one arm here. I'm going to move him over here with his 5 little bands that we have to go. The arm is a magic ring with 8. Like that. So take your first band, wrap it once and twice, and we're going to put 8 stitches into this magic ring. All my nails broke the other day, so I find it hard to pinch anything. There we go. One. If you don't have nails and you need to pinch it, it's often a good idea to use the stitch marker idea. 2, 3, 4, 5. Ooh, that one's come a bit wonky. Let's pull that through a bit more. There we go. 6. 7 and 8. Now we're going to do 8 rounds. So again, get your bands ready. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you're going to take the first stitch and do a single crochet and move your stitch marker. And then you're not doing increases, you're just going into the second stitch, and don't use your little counter here of 8, use your regular pile of bands, and we're just going to go through. People keep asking me how many bands these take. When I did the Baymax, which was all white, it took 665 bands, not including the ones for the eyes if you used black bands for eyes. So these are on par with about that, depending on what you do. Like, I mean, do you need 12 orange bands? Well, yes. Okay, so you've got that. You're going to make a scarf for him, so that's going to take more as well. But for the average body, it's going to take about 665 bands, depending on the colours you're using. If you're doing a princess dress and you use 2 or 3 different colours in the dress, but it gives you an idea that you know, even if you're doing like a face, you've got the skin tone, it's not that many, and then you've got the skin tone for the arms, but it gives you a base, I guess, to work on, that it's not going to be into the thousands and thousands, unless you're doing, like we're going to be doing for this one, a hat. So that will increase how many bands we're using. So around we go, move our stitch marker. And as I said, we're doing 8 rounds. You will have 8 stitches the entire time. And I have not been stuffing the arms. I think they look just fine with no stuffing, and sometimes I think they can look a bit like sausages. when you stuff them, and they sort of stick out at angles, whereas if you haven't stuffed them, they sort of can flop down a bit to the side of the body. But again, it's personal preference, whatever you think is nice. It's like little dolls. I don't like putting mouths on them, but some people find it really odd and don't like it without a mouth. I really need to take this opportunity to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving here in America. I haven't done any Loomigurumi Thanksgiving projects this year. We've still got the Loom Thanksgiving projects, my little pilgrims and my little Native Americans and the turkey. Izzy and I have been very sick with breathing related issues, so tutorials have been a little bit slow because of that. So around we go, doing our 8 rounds. And I love to see how people adapt these and use my pattern and change up the colours and make them into something different. But do me a favour when you do that, give me a shout out, give me a credit that it's a tiny tot, so I know where you got the pattern from, that it was mine, and then I can gloat all over it and think how fabulous it looks. It's always a huge buzz to see that people have taken the initiative, but it's also nice to give credit where credit's due. And for all of those of you that do, thank you so much. I love it. Two more rounds, here we go. So have you all got big plans for Thanksgiving? We're doing the whole turkey bit with the in-laws this year, and then we do Christmas at my house. Thanksgiving isn't something that we really do, well, we don't do in England or in Australia. So it was a new holiday. Oops, take one from here. This is my last one. Have you all done your Christmas shopping? I'm terrible. I never ever get started until my birthday's gone, which is the 11th of December is my birthday, and I never feel Christmassy until my birthday's gone, which then leaves me in a mad panic. I haven't sent out Christmas cards, I've been really slack, and then everything gets there too late. But never mind. Alright, so I've done my last stitch here. This is my first stitch. I'm going to go through, pull it through in a slip stitch. So I've added that loop and do a slip knot like that. I'm not doing this tightly. I'm going to squidge this together, and I'm going to go through in the center here to this side and to the other side, and again single band, pull through one over the other and leave it as a slip knot. And then I'm going to go through the next one here, and I'm going to try and grab 4 little bands, 4 little loops. I might have grabbed more, I might have grabbed 5, no, I've grabbed 4, and pull my 3rd band through, one over the other, and these are going to be my little anchor bands. Okay, so let me show you what I'm going to do. I'm going to grab my little man back. I pinch these so that they don't unravel, so I pinch them quite tightly, and I work out sort of in line with the eye about here. I come through the neck right about here. There we go, right there. Okay, and that's when I pull through my first one, and then I go to the spot next to it, keeping that on my hook in here. I've got that on the hook, but I'm going into the next hole next to it, right there, and I grab the second one and pull it through, and I keep it on my hook. Or if you want to, you can do one over the other, but you can do one over the other like that, and then go into the third. Make sure you don't lose that. The third hole. Put your last anchor band in, pull it through. You've got 2 on your hook here, because we already did one over the other. So you do one over the other, and then you're going to find sort of about the next spot over, so not in that hole, but the next spot over. So I'm going to go through here, this stitch and this stitch, and I'm going to take a single white, and I'm going to tie off. Like that, nice and tight. Well, I say nice and tight, don't do it too tight if you think that you might need to move them around. But that is how I did the arm. Now, when I do the other arm, because I'm right-handed, I find it more difficult to go from this way backwards. So I find out where I want to be. That's my third one. So I'm going to go, that's my second one, and that's my first one. And again, I'm going to take my, and hopefully you've paused the video, and you will be working on your second one. When you do, you pull the first one through, go to the next one, pull it through. Again, you can do one over the other here if you choose to, and then go into the third hole, which for me is here. Grab your third band, pull it through, and again, one over the other. Go to the next stitch. For me, it's here. So these 2 here, I'm going to go through there. And I've gone through 2. You can go through 1. I guess I'm just doing it as a security measure, and tie off like so. Turn it back. So those are going to be my arms, okay, like so. Now this is when we go back to doing our 6 rounds. Now if you remember, we did our first band here, so we need to do, sorry, quick coughing fit there. So we'll go all the way around, and then we have 5 more rounds to do. I've got my little bands here. 5 more rounds to do of just single crochet. So I'm going to go all the way around, and I'm going to cough while I'm off camera, and hopefully by the time that we've done 6 rounds in total, or this one and another 5, I would have finished coughing, and we can get back to finishing our little snowman. I'll catch you back. 6 in total. I'm now going to stuff the head, and I'm going to leave the body. I'm just going to stuff the head. Just it makes it a little bit easier. I use the polyfill stuffing, but you can use tissues, you can use toilet tissue, you can use scraps of yarn, you can use scraps of material, cotton wool balls, whatever you've got lying around really. But this stuff is really nice, it's very light, and it's actually not expensive, and you get a huge, great big container full of it. So when I stuff the head, I want to make sure that I'm not stuffing too much and not stuffing too little. I don't want the stitches that I've got to spread apart and show all the stuffing, but in the same instance I don't want to not have the shape that I need to the head. So I'm going to stuff, and I'm stuffing just to the neck. Okay, I'm going to pull his nose down a bit. So that's what I'm going to do, and as you can see, I've sort of finished at the neck. I haven't gone further than the neck, and there we go. So that's his head. So this is the last stitch, and I'm going to go through my first stitch here. Now I'm only going to go through, I'm doing single crochet all the way around, but I'm only going to go through this inside loop. Okay, so I'm going to go through the inside loop and move my stitch marker to that band. I'm going to go all the way around doing single crochet just on that inside loop. See how it just changes the angle of our stitching. Each stitch just through that inside loop. And back to the beginning. I'm going to go through my first stitch with a single crochet, and I'm going to change my stitch marker to that stitch, and I'm going to stop on this bit for a second. Okay, as you can see, this is how it's going inward, but now is a good time to work out how we're going to do our buttons. So each button I like to have two bands, two of the black bands. It just, I think, looks a bit better. So take your first one, wrap it once, twice, 3 times, and the second one once, whoopsie, once, twice, 3 times. Slide onto a white band. Now you can slide onto, I shouldn't say that, you can slide onto a black band, but then you'll want to tie off with a white band. So if you want to do it this way, and I guess it does look a little nicer, you slide them onto a black band like that, okay, and then what we're going to do is take it off our hook, work out where you want it. So you might want to just use a couple of bands just to mark where you want this to happen. So squidge him down a bit and say, okay, maybe I'll have one here. Well, actually, I think that might be, that's more in the middle, isn't it? So one here, and then skip a row or round. If you don't skip the round, you end up with them not lined up. If you skip around, you end up with them lined up. If you don't skip around, they're not lined up. So if I went down here, it would be there. I want to go here. So this might be where I will put, whoopsie, come back here, you, my buttons. Do I want 3 or 4? I think I only want 3. And the other thing is, you don't necessarily have to have them going this way. They can go the other way. So I'm doing them horizontally like this, but you can actually do them this way if you choose. It's completely up to you. That's going to be sideways. That's going to be sideways. Oh, I know why. Because I have the increase, don't I? Good one, Kate. So I have an extra band from up there. So I'm going to just do it here. Okay, so I have this one rolled up on here. So I'm going to take my hook and put it through one side. I'll take that out. I'm going to put it back inside my little body and find the other side. And again, it's up to you how tight you want those or how stretched you want them. I'm going to do them just like that. So I have 2 little loops here. Take a white and tie off. Don't do them too tight in case you want to adjust where they're going to go. Again, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, slide onto a black band, push your hook through one side where you want it to be, pull through, go to the other side, pull through, and using a white band, tie off. That's 2. Let's do another one. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Slide onto a black band. Push your hook through one side. Now this is where we might have a bit of a kerfuffle because I think we had the extra, we're going to do it down there like that. We added the extra stitch to make his bottom wider so they don't line up exactly, but that's fine, you can make it line up. So I have mine like that. You can add more or less, completely up to you. But I think using the black band is a little nicer. When I use the white band, you can actually see the black on the white, and I think this looks a little tidier. So we've added those. Let's go back to fixing our bottom here. Now, what we're going to do is 2 single crochets and a decrease. So that was 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet, and now our invisible decrease. You're going through the 2 outside loops and then 1 single, oops, I don't know what I did with that one. Oh, there we go, throwing it all over the place. 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet, and a decrease. 1, 2, and a decrease. 1, 2, and a decrease. 1, 2, oh, come on. There we go. Goodness gracious. And a decrease. 1, 2, and a decrease. 1, 2, and a decrease. 1, 2, and finish on a decrease. You're going to do a single round of single crochet again. Move your stitch marker and around we go. 1, move your stitch marker and we're going to go round again, and we're going to do a single crochet, which we just did, followed by a decrease. single crochet and a decrease. Oops. Single crochet and a decrease, single crochet. Oh, I'm sorry, that was a decrease, wasn't it? Single crochet and a decrease. I'm getting out of sync with myself. Single crochet. I blame it on the medicine. And a decrease. At least I can talk today. Well, it might be good for you guys. My husband might not think so much. Single crochet and a decrease, single crochet and a decrease and a single crochet. So as you can see, there's the little bottom happening. Now I'm going to go through this first stitch and I'm going to move my stitch marker onto it so that we keep this safe. And we're going to have a look at our little chappy here. So this is how he's going to be standing when we oh, crooked nose, when we finish him. So I'm going to do a single crochet and a decrease one more time, okay, and then we're going to stuff him. And I just wanted to see whether that would actually work, and it will. So single crochet already done. Let's do a decrease and a single crochet and a decrease. Oops, try that one again. Single crochet and a decrease. And a decrease, and I'm going to do my single crochet and put my stitch marker on here, and now I'm going to stuff the bottom of our little dude, and then we will just close up here. I'm going to do his hat and his scarf in a completely separate video, because I just think it would be too much for one video. So here we go. I'm not going to push it all the way to the head. I just want to do it to the top of the neck. A little bit more. Good thing is you can always take some out. If you haven't stitched it up already. So I'll shove that in. Let's see how he's going to look. I think that's about right. I like that. Not too rounded, but he's still got a chubby bum, which is what we want for Snowman anyway. All right, here we go. I'm going to take my stitch marker out, and all I'm going to do now is single decreases, and I'm not going to do the hidden ones where I just go through the back loop. I'm going to go through both loops this time because I want this to be secure, okay? And I tend to twist my hook when I do these because it I put them in like normal, but then as I pull one through, pull it through the first, and then I twist it the opposite way, and I find that easier to get that next stitch. So I pull it through the first, twist it away from me, and then just do my normal. And tie off band on the base, one over the other, nice and tight, you don't want that to come down, and I just go through here, grab that tie off band and pull it in. And that is how I have done my little snowman. As I said, I'm going to do his hat, and we have a scarf to do as well, but I'm going to do those in a separate video so that we can we don't bloat this one out too much. Alright, but there we go, that's the base little snowman. Hope you enjoy making him. Catch you in the next video. Bye.